championship game tonight. The John Curtis Patriots 11-1 versus the Patterson Lumberjacks 14-0. Head coach for Curtis, J.T. Curtis. Head coach for Patterson, Jack Andre. At stake tonight, not only is there the trophy, but the bragging rights, the pride, the honor, as the crowd starts to show some emotion early in our ball game. Also, the deep competitiveness between the two teams. John Curtis has won the toss and is elected to receive. With me tonight, Corey Buton is the junior high athletic director. As we take a look at the field and the crowd starting to go wild. Corey, the Patterson offense has been awesome this year. Over 40 points in 8 games. The lowest offensive total was 20 points. And they've got 2 gentlemen in the backfield, Alvin Butler and Dalton Hilliard, who have both rushed for over 1,200 yards. Between them, 35 touchdowns. What can the Curtis defense do to stop these 2 players?
Well, Manny, basically, Patterson has been a ground-orientated offense. They take real wide splits, look to run inside. They back these 2 fine running backs up and let them run the daylight. So the first thing we have to do is gap control it and not let them establish their inside running game. Their second tendency is to go outside with a quick pitch type offense and to use a long ball play action type pass to keep the secondary off the line of scrimmage. So we're going to have to get a well-coordinated perimeter play, basically against an outside quick pitch and a gap control type look for my interior people versus their ground game.
Corey, one more quick question. The Curtis offense, the veer, has almost been unstoppable with McCann, Dubrock, and LaForte. What, on the other hand, can the Lumberjacks do to stop this awesome attack?
Defensively, they feature a lot of quickness, and they use a multi-front defense. They originate out of a 4-3, but they use different alignments, and they're going to try to put their people where they think we're going. And it'll be up to Lance, not only to read, but quite a bit we're going to try to rely on his experience to check off tonight, Manny.
Okay, we're just about ready to get our kickoff underway. Kicking off is Gerald Thibodeau, number 24, and deep is number 20, Strapolo, with number 21, Dupar. The kick comes down to number 42, and the ball is brought across the 35. On the return, Tom Mastrogiovanni. So the Curtis offense will take over, and the ball is going to be marked right at the 35-yard line. And also an added guest tonight is another football commentator and analyst, Willie Hoff. He's a newly elected councilman at large, but most important, this gentleman has been involved with state playoffs through his entire coaching career at Holy Cross, East Jefferson, Bonneville, and when he was playing ball at Kenner. We'll speak with Willie shortly. Here comes the Curtis offense and the veer. McCann hands off straight ahead, or keeps the ball, fakes it to Dubrock, and goes off the right side for a gain of 6, maybe 7 yards, tackled by Randy Ulio. Willie, I know there's just tons of emotion that runs wild when you come into the Superdome. Just exactly what goes through a player's mind. You've been here before. In fact, it was just a couple years ago. What emotion takes place with the football players?
Well, Manny, I think I'll cover that right after this play. Let's watch this play. These kids are all fired up right now. McCann hands off this time. Dubrock's got the ball. That's pretty good. Let me say this. Curtis has a winning tradition. They've been in the state playoffs for many years. And this is the first time in the Dome Stadium for them. We played a couple of years in the Dome Stadium. Fantastic emotion. The kids love it. I wish all the playoffs could be in the Dome Stadium in the state of Louisiana.
Okay, Curtis with the ball. They've picked up the first down. Here we go, the veer again.
That was Greg Dubrock on the inside dive.
Dubrock picks up 3 yards. It'll be a second down, 7 yards to go. And we'll pick up the Curtis offense as May and Grimaldi on the stop. At center, number 50, Richard Armstrong. In the guard positions, 53, Eddie Krieger, and number 52, Jeff Burns. Tackle slots, Danny Carroll and Mike Michel. And believe me, when the veer works, these are the men up front that clears the trenches. Here we go. Your setbacks, McCann, Dubrock, and LaForte. May in on the stop. Bring up a third down situation.
McCann is a real nice looking junior. He's just a junior. Is that right, Coach?
Yes, Willie.
He really slams up in there on that veer. McCann does a good job with the veer also.
If There's
Lance
one.
has been running the veer now since the 7th grade, and his experience has really paid off.
Pitches
got the
back.
pitcher in the corner.
They've got the first down. That's Dubrock, number 44, and number 88, Julio, runs him out of bounds. Willie and Corey, one thing I think that's the biggest added dimension to the Curtis veer is that the play-action pass that McCann can handle exceptionally well. He does an excellent job faking to Dubrock in the fort, and he's got some fine receivers in Juan Spear and Terrell Chatham, and this team can move the ball. Offensively, they've averaged 35.6 points per game, and in the playoffs, 18. And of course, this is natural because they're playing tougher competition and a lot better teams. On the other hand, Patterson, who has defensive-wise has allowed 5.5 points per game during the year, has blossomed up into the 15.2 mark during the playoffs. So the tougher competition has given Patterson quite a bit to handle, as the Curtis offense now has the ball in Patterson territory at the 41. Straight ahead to the Hulk, number 44, Dubrock, and Dubrock will get the tough yardage up front.
Manny, again, that's our inside cutback play. It doesn't look like much, but it really takes its toll on the defense as the game goes on, because it freezes the inside pursuit, and Patterson has made a living with it with extremely quick inside linebackers.
Darnell and May on the stop for the Lumberjacks. Here he is, McCann, stumped at the line of scrimmage by Randy Julio, and the ball is brought out to the 37-yard line. Corey, one thing you and I were talking about earlier, in fact, I had seen Oscar Spear kicking earlier in the ball game, and I think if there is an edge, again, I didn't get to see a whole lot of the Lumberjack kicker, but the kicking for Curtis is excellent, and I'm sure if they can get 10, 15 more yards, they are in range. And in this type of ball game where you've got two explosive offense, all points count, and look out! Number 24, Camille Lafort is touchdown! 6 points, Curtis!
Well, Manny, our spread formation away just put the secondary from Patterson in a temporary bind. They really didn't adjust. And the outside veer dive, Camille was able to take it in. But getting back to what you were saying, Coach Curtis has been saying all week long to expect the kicking game to be a vital part in close ball games. I think that's Camille's third touchdown in the first half of our last two playoff games.
Would you look at this? Explain that one to us, would you, Coach?
All right. Basically, all year long, Curtis lines up in an overshift. We huddle away from the center of the field on extra points. It's Lance's job to read whether the defensive team can adjust to it. If they do not cover it, if they line up in the middle of the field expecting us to kick, Lance will walk back towards our kicker, give a signal to the center, who will then snap it on this hand signal. And Lance will take it in. It's, in effect, an unbalanced swinging gate type play, and evidently the fact we didn't run it all year has caused Patterson to ignore it. It's been real good, and surprisingly, we've scored more in the playoffs with it than we ever have during the regular season.
A lot of teams do it. You'll see them do it off and on, but they just shift back into the kicking situation. Caught the Lumberjacks with their pants down. If you saw the scoreboard, 8:32 remaining in our first quarter. Patriots 8, Lumberjacks 0. And look at this booming kick coming down at the 1-yard line, almost at the goal. And the Patriots have it covered pretty well. Number 26, right down there, Terrell Chatham, and number 33, Oscar Spear, with a host of Curtis Patriots. So starting in the backfield for the Lumberjacks, Patterson, Donald Boudreaux, number 13, quarterback. Here's their big backs, Alvin Butler, number 31, 21, Dalton Hilliard, and 85, Jerry Butler. We'll pick up the Curtis defense shortly. Split backfield. Timeout. Curtis.
Both running backs have extremely good speed, both of them being under 10.3 in the 100 last year. One is only a sophomore and really has gained most of the yardage, if you can tell a difference between 1,200 and 1,000, but they have a real fine running game built around both speed and size.
Again, Willie, now you've been on the field before when you ball club played here a couple years ago. Exactly what is the feel of the turf, and will it play any factor in our ball game tonight?
Yes, the players react a lot quicker on that artificial turf. And as you saw in that touchdown run, he was hauling it down that field and did a real fine job. And, of course, all coaches like to open up like that and take the opening kickoff and ram it right down the opponent's throat, what Curtis just did. And this is a good running back right here.
Fumbling. Let's see who's got it. Curtis has it. What a break early in the ball game. And I'll tell you what, you can see why Hilliard has all the yardage he does. He can really move.
Yes, Manny, we stopped him, but I'm not sure quite. That's quite how our defensive coordinators planned on doing it. I was counter-trapping. It really opened up quite well.
Corey, if that's any indication of how the Lumberjacks are going to run the ball, Curtis better put some points on the board this possession and really put the game into a position where the Lumberjacks can't mess around and have to score again. Same Curtis offense. Straight ahead to number 44. But McCann fakes me out.
Real trouble with the outside veer away from our split receivers. And I think the secondary from Patterson's going to have a little time to talk it over.
I tell you what, I wish McCann could tell us when he's going to keep the ball. He's got me going all over the place.
Patterson's not adjusting to that split out, and JT is running to the tight end side, and they're going to have to adjust in that secondary in order to stop Curtis.
Okay, again in your backfield, McCann, Dubrock, and LaForte. And this time the ends close it in at the 20, maybe the 19-yard line. Also in the backfield, Brian Stropolo, number 20. John May, number 73, in on the stop for the Lumberjacks. Curtis looking to put some points on the board early. Again, we still have 6:57 in our first quarter. And again, we're coming from the Superdome. And fumble, so this could be the big break. Number 44, Dubrock has him. But the ball will be ruled dead. And it appears to be ruled in favor of Curtis. He may have been down before the fumble back at the 24.5-yard line, where Curtis keeps possession, so another big break turns the way in the Patriots' face. That's right for him.
He was down that time, Manny, before the ball was fumbled. He was down on the ground as the ball was going out.
Here we go. McCann has his offense again, and he's been very effective with the outside veer. Here he goes, rolling to his right. The pass complete to number 23, Robert Ward. And Ward is inside the 10-yard line. Near a first down, but he may be short.
Manny, that was a straight sprint out. And Robert did a real fine job breaking on the ball.
And number 23, Ward, comes out with Terrell Chatham, number 26, going in. They're bringing it out for a measurement. While we've got this chance, let's hear a message from one of our sponsors.
Your wife has picked the colors. You must do the rest. So go see Bunky Helm and choose the very best. Regal Wall Satin by Benjamin Moore in shades that come alive. And the price this month is really great, just $8.75. Hard-wearing exterior Moorglow will suit your budget fine. Specially priced this month at $11.79. And when the job is finished, you'll know you've passed the test. Let Bunky Helm steer you in the right direction. Helm Paint and Supply, 8128 Earhart.
That was Dubrock who picks up the first down inside the 8-yard line as number 80, Randy Ulio, makes the tackle. 22 coming in for Curtis. That's Juan Spear. And Spear's an excellent receiver. But at this point in the ballgame, I would expect for Curtis to continue to run the overpowering veer. 6:04 in our first quarter. McCann keeps it, pitches out. That's going to be close to 6. LaForte. The whistle was blown dead. That was Dubrock inside the 2.
Man, that's an extremely difficult play, pitching on the corner on outside veer. And Lance did the job, and Greg's second effort was just a little too late to get it in the end zone.
Willie, from a defensive standpoint, you spoke earlier that the Lumberjacks have not made many adjustments. Evidently, they've got to make some serious adjustments now because Curtis is about to score again.
Yes, they're not stopping him at all, and Curtis does have a tremendous offensive team. Now, you got to give credit to the offense, and that's a big running back with Dubrock in there for a touchdown.
Away.
Curtis has, I would say, the best offensive line in AA football at this time. They can really move those people out.
And Willie, those guys deserve a plug. And, Coach, why don't you give them a plug, because you've been around these gentlemen for a long time, and you know what they're made of.
Well, Manny, Willie, they're a veteran offensive line, been together for 2 years now, and Coach Robinson, they've finally gotten a little recognition in the paper. I really paused a minute to see if Patterson adjusted, and this time you could bet Patterson wasn't going to go for the two-point conversion. But short yardage, we like to go with the big running back, Greg Dubrock, behind our 260-pound junior tackle who can definitely get it when the chips are down. It's Mike Michel.
The point is good. Well, we've got this chance. We spoke with Coach Curtis prior to the ball game, and we haven't seen much of the Patterson offense, but we asked him what to expect from Patterson offensively and defensively. And here's Coach Curtis.
Well, Manny, you know, Patterson High School has an outstanding football team. They're 14-0 coming in this ball game. Offensively, basically, they're a split-back, veer-type team. They have two exciting backs, the Hilliard boy and the Butler kid. Both have right at 1,900 yards apiece rushing. And, of course, you know, anytime you have that many yards, you got to be doing something right. They both have excellent speed. They both have excellent balance. They're tough runners. They're both about the same size, about 5'10", about 185, 175 pounds. They have a good offensive line, comes off the ball well, and we expect them to run right at us early and then try to get the ball outside with a quick pitch, which is probably their favorite play. They don't throw the ball a great deal. They try to lull you to sleep, and then before you know it, they'll throw the big pass on you and get you in trouble in a hurry. They have an exciting football team offensively, and we're expecting to have to play our best defensive game in order to win. From a defensive standpoint, they run a 4-3 with a lot of overshift. They'll either overshift their down linemen or they'll overshift their linebackers. And then sometimes they'll jump into a split 40 look in the inside and keep a 4-deep secondary. They leave the middle of the field pretty open, and we're going to try to exploit that. Whether we can or not is going to have to just remain to be seen, but we're expecting a quick defense and a good offensive showing from us in order to be in the ball.
That was Craig Jacobs on the fumble recovery, a big sophomore, 215 pounds, and a real fine shot putter. I think Patterson's starting to feel a little pressure of the road trip, and they're really going to have to settle down to stay in the ball game. Oscar Spears' kickoff to the 1, and Terrell Chapman's tackle inside the 20 put him in a bind, and the pitch going to the quarterback's weak hand kind of got away from him there. Gave us real fine field position.
Corey, this is phenomenal. We're in a state championship ball game, and the Patriots have an opportunity now to really put the score, and I hate to say blow them out this early in the game, but you can make a real good cushion as number 24, Camille Lafort, runs it in from 8 yards out.
Well executed play. They've just taken advantage of both breaks. Patterson hasn't had the ball. They've had the ball twice, fumbled both times. This kind of reminds me of that Covington playoff game, Coach.
That was a real fine point. The strength of Patterson's ball club is definitely its two running backs, and they just haven't had the ball in the first quarter. And they've given it to us in position where we could do things. It's, to tell you the truth, almost a replay of our game with Jonesboro Hodge, where a 700-mile trip and a rough beginning gave the visiting team a hard time. If we can keep our momentum, we certainly should be all right.
Well, 22 points in the first quarter is good in any league, I want to tell you. That's tremendous. That really is.
Man, we haven't even had enough time to give a plug for the defensive players. He was getting ready to go over the defensive starting lineup, and I haven't even been able to mention his defense out there. They're getting about 2 plays now for the Lumberjacks that I can remember, and it's just that quick. The ball's been turned over, and Curtis has played all offense. 22-0. The Patterson crowd's now getting up, trying to wake their offensive unit up and tell them, hey, there's a team out there running points up on you, and you're going to have to score to play a close ball game.
Coach, let me say, you know, a team coming out of Patterson or any town outside the New Orleans area coming to a big dome like this, it is an awesome sight when they walk on that field. I want to let you know that.
Right, Manny. I'm sorry, Coach Hoff. That was Manny and I were talking about that before the game, and The Jonesboro people definitely thought Tulane Stadium affected them when they came here 2 years ago. So I imagine it could readily be. I know our kids were awfully excited, and they certainly have a lot more opportunity to be here. Lance's dad coaches here with the Saints, so quite a few of our players spend every Sunday here. So I guess that is a big edge.
So let's pick up the Curtis defense before the offense comes back out. At nose guard, number 62, Bart Pickens. The tackle position, number 73, Alvin Wickbolt, and 75, Craig Jacobs. Defensive end positions, number 45, Donnie Davis, 81, Kurt Mitchell. We'll pick up the linebacking core shortly. Here comes number 31. That's Dalton Hilliard. Flags go down. And from the applause coming from the Lumberjack side, it may be against the Patriots.
It looks like a personal foul against the Patriots.
They seem to have gotten a little over-anxious coming into the pile there. They have to settle down and play and keep control of the ball game and not let Patterson get back in it too quickly.
At the linebacking positions, which is very strong for Curtis, number 61, Brian Bagley, 74, Scott Bailey. Cornerbacks, number 21, Reggie Dupard, 35, Chris Wickbolt. And the safety positions, 26, Terrell Chatham, and number 13, Steve Rehaj. Curtis in the 5-2. Here we go, straight ahead to number 21, Alvin Butler. Gain of about 2. And these running backs do hit the holes rather quickly as 61 Bagley bags him at the 47.
Manny, the linebacker play of Bagley and Bailey has probably been the thing that's held our defense together through the playoffs. Scott's a sophomore, was an all-district freshman defensive tackle. And since the Belchase game has really come on, playing in the up position, he had 18 tackles against Belchase, and between him and Brian, who is our defensive MVP of our district, they've been holding our defense together. This is the home run ball we're talking about.
Intercepted by number 21, Reggie Dupont, and he's been doing it all year. A fine athlete, number 21, Dupont, up and over, pulls the ball out of the receiver's hand, just as you spoke of. When the Patterson goes for the pass, they go for the home run. So now with 3:09, the third turnover, and again Curtis has the ball.
That's good secondary coverage. He was double covered back there on the pass. Real good effort. Went up there high and caught the ball.
Going into the season, we had a little bit of concern for our secondary because there were 4 new people. Even though we knew they were all good athletes with excellent speed, we knew we were starting 3 sophomores, but they've really come on and have become quite an asset in their own right.
McCann smothered back at about the 16-yard line, but the referee brings it out to the 19 as he was dragged back a few yards. The initial contact was at the 19.
Coach, that looked like that was going to be a little look-in pass. Right, throwback.
Right. We were trying to go with our counter pass, and Patterson did a good job picking it up, and right on the line of scrimmage, it's hard to block very long if they do cover the initial receiver.
That number 80 defensive end for Patterson is pretty tall, too.
He's very quick and been a real fine performer for him. Greg breaks out on the inside dive, and I believe might have broken for the first down.
It does appear that way. I'm just amazed. This is about our 3rd or 4th game that we've done, Curtis, and their offense has consistently moved the ball like they are now. The defense has always come up with the big play. This is icing on the cake. They're doing it all in the first quarter.
Coach, this is the first time I've seen Curtis play this year. That Greg Dubrock looks like he's about 6'2", 210 pounds. Is that's about it?
That's pretty good for an even experienced eyes. At 6'2", 212, and like I told Manny, that's a 300-plus bench press and a pretty legitimate 4.7 speed on any given day. So Greg's a load when he's getting it going straight ahead like that.
Yeah, he is tremendous looking back. Backhand does an excellent job with that option also.
McCann's 188, and they've been playing together since the 6th grade, so it's no surprise that they work together rather well.
Darnell makes the stop. Willie, this question's for either you or Corey. What is it that's made the edge this prevalent for Curtis right now? I know before the game there has to be an edge going to one or the other team, but I didn't think there'd be this big of an edge.
Well, my opinion, my answer to that would be Curtis is experienced in playing in the playoffs, and I think that is a tremendous edge. I think this is only Patterson's 2nd time in the playoffs in the last number of years.
Right, and there's really not much continuity to it. This is the first time for a really young Patterson team that's played well, and they've come a long way. Not to go 14-0, you're doing all right. We know for a fact they beat a very fine Belchase team from our own district. So I think a combination of things has just put them in a real hole the first quarter. And it'll be our job now to keep the pressure on them and put the game away.
The Bellchase team that Corey was speaking of is the only common opponent that both teams have played. Curtis defeating Bellchase 2-0 in a rain-soaked field, and Patterson defeating Bellchase 32-22. And as Willie was speaking of earlier, Curtis has had the experience. Take a look at this stat. State champions in 75, the runner-up in 76, state champs again in 77, the semifinalists in 78, and look out 79. This could be another big odd year for him, as McCann is smothered back at midfield by Julio, Clayton, and Darnell. Back at midfield, so it'll bring up a 4th down situation, and we haven't seen too many of these for Curtis tonight.
Coach, this is the first punting situation of the whole game so far.
Right.
How is the kicking game, Coach?
Oscar's a really fine kicker, and he's capable of putting Patterson really deep in the hole if he gets into it here. He doubles both ways as our place kicker and our punter. And there's no telling how effective he would be if that's all if he could concentrate on either one. But he's handled both jobs admirably.
Well, let me say, that is a tremendous first quarter, 22-0. And in one quarter, that's a lot of points to score in a state championship game.
As you take a look at our scoreboard, we'll pause for another break. When you hear sporting goods, remember ARC. ARC carries a full line of football equipment, from cleats to helmets. And if you can't score with football and tennis is your racket, we have a wide selection of tennis clothes, court shoes, racket strung, and re-grip. Owners Art and Kentron Cosa have an unbeatable all-purpose shoe department, from jogging tennis to track or just leisure tennis. Remember Art for the best in sports clothing and sporting equipment. That's 3320 Williams Boulevard, directly behind KB. Open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 on Saturday. Art, Kenner's largest sporting goods store. Art, where you are our most valuable player. Fair catch by number 24, Gerald Thibodeau, and Thibodeau's fair catch brings it out at the 18-yard line, where the Lumberjack offense will take over. On the front line for the Lumberjacks, James Primo, number 50, Billy Hamlet, 65, 62, Carl Ritten, 83, Paul Akaloy. And the left side, number 76, Mike Lemoyne, Darrell Terrio, 78, 22, Wilson Acosta. Pitch back to Hilliard. Hilliard out near the 20-yard line.
Manny, that's the quick pitch play Patterson likes to run when they feel the defense is not going to adjust to their splits. We did a real fine job. We got excellent pursuit out of our tackle, Alvin Wickboat, who can really probably run sub-5 flat in the 40. Between that and good perimeter play, he managed to hold to looks like about a 2.5-yard gain.
Jacobs, Bailey, Wickbolt, and Davis all around on that play. Straight ahead to the 24. And they're nearing a first down. Then I'll leave it up to you fellas. Think about, I don't know if right now that Patterson has a first down. We've just started our second quarter. If you just tuned in, we have 11:04 in our first half. And to a big surprise, I guess to everybody, maybe then except the Curtis Patriots, scored 22-0 Curtis.
Well, Manny, they did pick up a first down and a penalty, but in all fairness, they haven't had the ball really a chance to run 3 plays in a series, so this will be close to a first down here. I believe it's the first possession when they got to run all 3 downs.
Willie, you've coached some fine backs at Bonneville, East Jefferson, Holy Cross, the whole works. But I've been impressed, and I'm sure if Patterson can get things cranked up and these backs running, they sure do hit the holes pretty fast.
Yeah, they look very quick, but don't underestimate Curtis's backs. That Dubrock is big, but he hits in that hole real quick, and the hand knows how to handle that ball at quarterback.
Bagley in on the stop for Curtis with number 33 Spear.
I think now it becomes a test for both ball clubs whether Curtis can keep playing with intensity and whether Patterson can stay patient and do the things they've done well all year. I think that's the task facing both ball clubs right now.
Corey, if there's any tendencies you see in the Patterson offense right now, what is it? I see they're going wide pretty often now.
Well, this is basically, like I said, been their tendency all year. They try to split you real wide and spring those backs inside. If that doesn't go, then they revert out to a quick pitch type offense outside. And I don't think they really tested their inside game yet. but maybe they feel down 22-0. They're going to try to hope for something really big outside.
Jacobs and Wickbolt on the tackle, and big gaping hole on the left side. Tackle by number 74.
That's a new look for him. That was outside
Bailey.
themselves, which they haven't done much.
Tremendous line splits. They had good three feet at least splits over there, and they ran right at it. And Curtis didn't adjust to it that time. But let me say this. John Curtis High School is a well-coached football team. They adjust to everything. They really have been outstanding so far in this game.
Here we go. Boudreaux, hands off up the middle, nowhere to go. Willie, when you're speaking of splits, some people not familiar with the football term splits. What are you talking about when you're saying they have wide splits?
Well, the offensive line came out on that last veer play, and the guard was split about 3 feet from the center, and the tackle was split about 3 feet, and the end was split about 3 feet. And, of course, if the defense lines up on a person, then that opens up the defense. And then you have to adjust to that, so you have to move your defensive personnel in a little bit to compensate for it.
At this point, Curtis is making the Lumberjacks chew up some time on the clock. In any tremendously big plays. As a fine play by Craig Jacobs, number 75. Jacobs and Wickbolt at the tackle positions have just played outstanding, along with the linebackers Bailey and Bagley. They've kept them pretty well jammed in.
Jacobs is a sophomore that's really been coming on. He started off the season on offense, and we moved him to defense to take advantage of his size, and he also has good speed. We've already clocked Craig at 4'8" in the 40, weighing a little under 220.
Just tuned in. Patterson has the ball there on the right of your screen. They have the white helmets, black jerseys, red pants. Curtis is in all white. Their colors are red, white, and blue of the Patriots. And look out, a big play is about to be broken, but run out of bounds by number 33, Spear, as number 42 rambles off the left side. And we don't have his name as who he is on the program.
Good block there by the halfback on that reverse. Broke that play.
I believe that's the younger brother, only a freshman, of the fullback, Butler.
Earlier we spoke of the Curtis offense compared to the defense of Patterson. Let's flip the other side of the coin and look at Patterson's offense. 41.4 average during the year, and now 28 points in the playoffs. That's a lot of offense. Looking back, Boudreaux looking to throw. Boudreaux's man is open, number 21, and when he gets the ball, well, Hilliard gets the ball, he can move, and another step, he may have had a touchdown. But fine defensive play for Curtis.
That was really excellent coverage, but a good pass and an excellent catch by the back out the backfield.
That was a well-executed offensive play. Two well-coached teams on the football field tonight.
Curtis now with their backs against the door, but again they have a 22-point cushion. And Patterson, this is the deepest they've been the entire first half. They're at the 25 now of the Patriots. Straight ahead, and look out, number 31, Butler, is thrown down to the turf, and it appeared to be Craig Jacobs again.
Craig Jacobs and number 61, Brian Bagley, our linebacker. That was an example of the adjustment Coach Hoff was talking about. Our defensive linebackers, Brian, caught Patterson once again, the extremely wide splits, and we walked up in there tough. Both linebackers, that means, played closer to the line of scrimmage. And when they pulled to get their trap block, Brian had a gap and was able to get into the mesh before the back really had the handoff.
You know, it's funny. You look at a football game and you get the impression it's just someone taking the ball and running. Fumble again, and the Curtis defense gives Boudreaux a taste of an artificial turf. It looks just like somebody's just running the ball. Number 74, Scott Bailey, one of the key defensive players, number 33, Spear, on that last play. Looks like somebody just running the ball, but listening to you two guys up here, there's a heck of a lot of strategy going out there and a heck of a lot of coaching that people just watching a ball game may not even think is going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of adjustment during the ball game, and the coach gets real excited on that sideline, and the communications between the coach and the football player is the #1 thing that makes you a winner.
There's no doubt about it, Willie, because if all the coaching in the world on the sidelines doesn't do any good unless you have somebody who can keep their composure and keep it going.
Fourth
on
down.
The field itself.
That was that same reverse they used on that crucial situation back up on the 50-yard line, and they made the first down.
Yeah, Mr. Butler turned it up inside that time and found the crease and got an important first down for this drive for Patterson.
Spear, number 33, and number 45, Donnie Davis, on the stop for Curtis. As the Curtis defense, again, although they're bending right now, you can still hope for that big turnover. 5:34. Lumberjacks have used quite a bit of time in this drive, which I guess is just flexing a muscle. Quick pitch out to Dalton Hilliard. Hilliard turns the corner and is
That was a real fine run, Manny. On a quick pitch for about a 5-yard gain. We really didn't look like we were in bad shape on the ball, on the play, until Mr. Hilliard decided to do something.
Spear and Davis in on the stop as they run Hilliard out of bounds. Well, we've got this chance. There's an injury down, a man down. Although Curtis is on defense right now, and the Patriots run an awesome veer, I asked Coach Jack Andre what he would do to stop the Curtis veer. And this is what Coach Andre said.
Well, to stop the veer is, it's a very, very disciplined sort of offensive play. We're gearing up outside to make our defensive ends and linebackers very, very conscious and give them certain responsibilities to stop this thing and hope that it will work.
Okay, we're back to our ball game now, as number 21, Reggie Dupart, is helped from the field.
That's number 62 for Patterson down, Manny.
60.
Looks like it might be his knee.
And the man that's down might be hurt pretty bad because a trainer, a doctor, all crowded around him right now. Again, we have 5:23 remaining in our first half with the score. John Curtis 22, Patterson 0. Corey, I was speaking to you earlier before the game about the faculty and the students. What type of reaction have you had around the school? It's a big ball game. You're coming into the dome. And again, it's not every day that you go to a state final, although it seems like that at Curtis. What were some of the faculty and students' reactions during the week?
Man, the tension around school, no matter how many times you go, there's just nothing to match for getting your school together, the excitement that comes with a long trip through the playoffs. Certainly the topping on the cake has to be the chance to play in this Dome Stadium tonight, and really the student reaction has been outstanding. Faculty support we've really always had, so we're hoping it'll culminate in an outstanding victory tonight.
Willie, now we've got a timeout here, and it appears to be a good long one. Can this turn a drive around? Your team, we're talking about the Lumberjacks right now, has chewed up a lot of time. They've moved the ball pretty consistently, but now they've had a lull. The game has been stopped for maybe 1-2 minutes. What effect will this have on the Patterson offense?
Well, I think they have their momentum going right now. This is a pretty long drive. They started back on the 18-yard line, and their offense is potent, and they're moving the ball consistently, and they do have a long road to hoe to get 22-zip. They need to get in this time bad.
Handoff to number 21, Hilliard. Hilliard meets a brick wall.
That was Greg Dubrock, who sometimes goes both ways in our short yardage defenses.
Corey, how do you feel about players playing two ways? I know for the most part, Curtis has gone with two separate ball clubs, but like you said, when it gets tough, some of the key players will go in.
Right. For special teams and special situations like short yardage, then we want our best athletes on the field. So we will go. This is our 6-2 defense, a little bit different look. We will go to using some of our key offensive people, particularly right now. Reggie Dupart is injured in the defensive backfield.
Big penalty play coming up right here. Looks like a clip.
Dubrock and Wickbolt was right there, Willie. But what did you see as far as the flag was concerned?
Looks like a clip against Patterson. That's a crucial situation, 3rd and short yardage inside the 10-yard line. That really can stop a drive right there. That's what a coach hates to see.
Manny, excuse me, Manny. Patterson, if it's been plagued by anything offensively, this has probably resulted in stopping more drives than anything else. They have been plagued. They have a tendency to sometimes clip on this outside play, so you could bet J.T. Curtis spoke to the officials about it before the game. Not that that's what influenced his call, but it's real hard, as you know, Willie, to make a living whenever you have that many people blocking back towards the ball without getting the clip. And that certainly was unfortunate one as far as the Patterson offense is concerned.
Pickens, Wickbold, Jacobs, Davis, and Mitchell dig in on defense and run down from behind. Number 45, Donnie Davis, way over from the left end, makes the tackle on the right side of the Curtis defense.
Manny, Donnie Davis is a very unselfish player. He came to us as a real fine running back when he moved in from Tennessee, and he got excellent speed, and he did a real fine job of trailing that backside play, catching the reverse from behind.
4th down situation, and probably the biggest play of the night for Patterson. Now, I guess if there's any turning point in a ball game, you hate to say it's going to happen in the first half, but you guys can give me your opinion on it. 22-0, hey, something's got to happen here for Patterson. Flag down, delay of game, so now they're 5 yards deeper. They're back at their own 31. And, Willie, I'll direct it to you. What happens if Patterson doesn't score here?
Well, we only have 3:39 left in the ball game, and you can lose that momentum and stop someone down right before the half, and it's tough to get ready in that second half. And for 22 points, they're going to have to start doing some scoring. They want to get back in this ball game, because J.T. Curtis gets that ball again, you know they're going to be moving the ball.
That's right. Curtis offense can move. Look at this rush by number 75, Craig Jacobs. Jacobs' arms all around Boudreaux, and you'd swear they're at a dancing party because Jacobs just held on to him so tight there was nothing he could do with the ball.
No, Craig Jacobs just celebrated his birthday on that one. He tackled the dive back on the play action pass and ended up tackling the quarterback on the pass rush for the
great individual effort there. That's what you like to see on 4th down.
Willie, you were so impressed with the Curtis offense as we see the backfield. McCann, Dubrock, and LaForte. This is their running average. As it goes straight ahead to the wheel horse, number 44, Dubrock. McCann has averaged 8.1 yards a carry. Dubrock 8.8 and LaForte 10.1. With that kind of offensive thrust, you've just got to give those guys the ball.
Yes, indeed. And let me say this, that offensive line, you know, when you watch it on TV, you see the offensive line, if that camera would go down a little further, you'll see them downfield, blocking people downfield. That's what makes the ball go.
Definitely, Coach. That's when you get your long gainers, when you can get good people blocking downfield for good backs, then you really have something going.
McCann to Helm, incomplete. So it'll bring up a 3rd down situation, and he's getting some pretty good protection from Krieger, Michelle, Armstrong, Burns, and Carroll. Dwayne McCollum, number 88, the tight end. He's a pretty big receiver, and you can look for him to have the ball thrown his way if Curtis has to continue to throw the ball. And again, no telling what Curtis will do come out in the second half. We're going to talk with Corey in the second half as they come out. What will Curtis do? In fact, what do you talk about at the halftime when you have such a big lead? Handoff to number 44, Dubrock. Dubrock across the 44 to the 45-yard line.
That was a little draw play and passing situation, almost broke it for the 1st down. I believe this will be the only second time that Curtis will be punting.
I'm not sure we're going to be punting here, Coach. At midfield, in fairly short yardage, I think Coach looks like he's electing to go for it here. Patterson's been coming real hard to the quarterback on the sprint out, so I draw a screen if he, in passing situations, looks like it might be a big part. And it looks like we've drawn him off sides, and it's a real costly mistake by the young Patterson Ball Club.
You're right. You may not even have to run a 4th down, and that's exactly it, Corey.
That's
First
exactly
down,
right.
John Curtis.
That's the easy way to make the 1st down there.
2:13 now remaining in our first half. And lo and behold, 22-0, Curtis leads. And the first half is not over. If you missed it, Camille LaForte broke loose on a 37-yard run. Dubrock from 4 yards out, and LaForte again from 9 yards out. Two-and-a-half-yard game, maybe 2 yards on the play.
They call it a fumble, Coach. Giving the ball over to Patterson on a fumble.
You're right, fumble, and the ball goes over to the Patterson Lumberjacks. Deep in Patterson territory. Not real deep. I guess it's at the 42 or 47. My eyes are crossing.
Well, this is when you need to You're a 2-minute offense. You have a minute and 30 seconds left to go. You have to move the ball. You have to score. You're 22 points down. There's a lot of pressure on that quarterback right now.
Boudreaux brings his offense up, split backfield, Hilliard and Butler. Handoff to number 21, Hilliard, and Hilliard cross midfield to the 46 in Patriot territory.
Patterson has a great deal of confidence in their running backs, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them go with something that looks like a unusual play call, but they have a lot of confidence in those two backs breaking a big play and setting them up for something down close, even late in the half.
It looks like they like reverse on a pass situation rather than throw the ball.
Right, Coach. The only thing they've done throwing the ball most of the year is go for the home run.
Bagley and Mitchell in on that last play. There's the pass, and whoa, look at this tackle. I'm trying to pick the number up who made the tackle. Oscar Spear, number 33. This is something unusual, Corey. Throughout the games I've seen during the year, he didn't have a whole lot of playing time as a safety.
No, it's been unusual, but we've caught 2 straight personnel changes at the strong safety position, and Oscar has adjusted to doing it well. He's really filling in. We've lost 2 people with injuries at that position, and Oscar has usually played defensive back only in our prevent situations.
3rd down, 3 yards to go, ball on the 46-yard line. These two teams have never played before. First meeting between Curtis and Patterson. Look at the Curtis defense swarm. So we can pick all these numbers up.
That's that reverse again, Coach, trying it to the others to the wide side of the field, and they're getting nowhere.
Mitchell, Spear, Pickens, and a number of other Curtis players had the Patterson offense sniffed out, and there was nowhere to go. 4th down situation, so with 10 seconds left, Patterson may decide to just let the clock run out.
Might happen when they decide to.
2, 1. That ends our first half of play with the score: Curtis 22, Patterson 0.
The pick of the jocks. The Locker Room Sports Center, where all athletic supplies are available to you. Racquetball, football, baseball, basketball, and tennis. Hey, jersey, shorts, socks, and tennis shoes. So if you're out of shape, jog on down to the Locker Room, where you find the best in tennis shoes. Nike, Adidas, Rydell, Puma, and Wilson. Are you a real athlete? Dress in wear what today's athletes wear at the Locker Room. Kenner's finest sports center. Williams and West Esplanade. Store hours 9 to 9 till Christmas. And that's for your shopping convenience. Be a winner. Enter the Locker Room Sports Center. The pick of the jocks.
Okay, now to recap the first half scoring, the Patriots struck first. In fact, they're the only team that has scored. 70-yard drive. The ball on the opening kickoff was brought out to the 30. 70-yard drive, capped off by a 37-yard touchdown run by Camille Lafort. 2-point conversion by McCann was good. Score 8-0. Not too long after that, a fumble recovery at the 40-yard line. A 4-yard run by Dubrock. The extra point by Spear ran the score up 15-0. The final score again coming on a number of turnovers, and again this time by a fumble back at the 9-yard line. A 9-yard run by Camille Lafort. The extra point by Oscar Spear puts the score, as it stands right now, 22-0 Curtis, and we'll be right back with our halftime festivities.
of the Jocks. The Locker Room Sports Center, where all athletic supplies are available to you. Racquetball, football, baseball, basketball, and tennis. Hey, jersey, shorts, socks, and tennis shoes. So if you're out of shape, jog on down to the locker room, where you find the best in tennis shoes. Nike, Adidas, Rydell, Puma, and Wilson. Are you a real athlete? Dress in and wear what today's athletes wear at the locker room. Kenner's finest sports center. Williams and West Esplanade. Store hours 9 to 9 till Christmas. And that's for your shopping convenience. Be a winner. Enter the Locker Room Sports Center. The pick of the Jocks.
Okay, we're back to our ball game now that we're getting ready to start our second half. Curtis is just coming out of their locker room. The Patterson Lumberjacks have been out on the field now, I guess, a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. And as I said earlier, either they're ready to crank it up and get the second half underway because they're fired up, or they want to get it over with and go home. And any ball club, I would imagine it's in the state playoff, wants to fire it up and get it cranked up and start the second half. They're down 22-0. Again, working our ball game tonight, I'm Manny Baraka, with me, Cora Butone and Willie Hoff. They've been commentating all night on the various things that's been transpiring in our ball game as we watch Curtis hustled on down to their sideline. As again we stated, 22-0. The first half was entirely in the hands of the Curtis Patriots. Coach Hoff, as a coach, you've been in this situation before. Your ball club's ahead by 22 points. You're ahead by any big lead. What do you tell your ball club at halftime?
Well, you let them realize and get the point across that they have 24 more minutes of good, hard-nosed football. And the good football teams realize this. They're organized mentally together to go and accomplish another 24 minutes of hard knocks. And I'm sure JT did the same thing, because he knows with the explosive backs of Patterson that they could turn this game around real quick. So I'm sure they're going to be ready to play another good half like they did the first half. The first half was not good, it was excellent. They really did a tremendous job.
Okay, Corey, on the other hand, what does a coach tell a team that's down by 22 points?
Well, it sounds like a true cliche, but really there's no tomorrow, and they got to, hey, they're here. They got to play the next 24 minutes and get back in the ball game and try to win it. But anytime you go on the field, you have to play the whole 4 quarters, and that's basically what both coaches are talking about, just from different viewpoints.
Our kickoff starts our second half, and now the Curtis defense comes out to face, which by the looks of it may be a fired-up Lumberjack offense. The Lumberjacks starting in their backfield, same offense they had earlier. Primo, Hamlet, Ritten, Akaloy, Lemoyne, Terrio, and Acosta. And again in the backfield, Boudreaux at quarterback, Hilliard, number 21, 31, Butler, 85, Jerry Butler. Straight ahead as they try to establish a ground game.
That was linebacker Scott Bailey on the quick fill.
Again, Patterson came out this half. He has real nice splits in the line. And those backs hit up in there real quick. But I'll say this, Curtis linebackers get to that ball real quick too.
Another man right in the middle of the ball is number 62, Bart Pickens. Pitch back to number 31, Butler.
Butler did a real good job getting the inside crease there, because it looked like we had that stopped on the line of scrimmage. And he managed to bring up a 3rd and short.
Wickbolt, and as Willie Hoff was speaking of, Scott Bailey, one of the linebackers, again come in and make a stop. 3rd down, and I hate to use the same thing, but this is still a very important play. It's just starting our 3rd quarter, but yet a 3rd and 2, and it's a very big play because the Lumberjacks have got to pick up a 1st down here. And it appears they have, as number 21, Hilliard around the left side.
Made a good inside cutback, and I believe we got up the field a little bit too much. Gave him an inside crease.
Rehaj and Spear in on a stop for Curtis, but not before a 1st down. 22-0, 10-21 now remaining in our 3rd quarter. Across our field, the Patterson fans whooping it up now. Straight ahead dive play. 2, maybe 3 yards on the carry.
Patterson has to go down and score to really get back into this ball game. But the way J.T. Curtis' defense looks, it's going to take them some time to do it. They don't give up too much, Coach. Y'all do a tremendous job in coaching that pursuit. They really get after that ball.
No, right now, I think at the very worst, we want to make Patterson bleed that clock. But right now, I'm sure the intentions are to try to stop him right here and get the ball back to our offense, good field position.
Making the big tackle last play, Bagley, Bailey, and Mitchell. Again, the linebackers in on just about every play to assist either a cornerback or a lineman to make the big play. Split backfield, man wide right. Here comes that reverse offense to number 42, and 42 has a first down. And here comes some disapproval from the Patterson fans as the running back was run out of bounds by Reggie Dupard, number 21, and Alvin Wickboat, number 73.
Again, it looks like their favorite play has become in a passing situation at reverse.
That's been a real bread and butter play to their offense. They run it close to the line of scrimmage, so it really fulfills the role of a counter more than a true reverse type play, and they pretty much use it in any situation.
Boudreaux pitches back, and Hilliard is run out of bounds. In fact, slapped out of bounds back inside their own territory at the 49.
That was a nice run by the pitchback just to get back to the line of scrimmage, because our defense was in excellent position. We had excellent leverage on the outside play.
Corey, now, Patterson runs a veer similar to what the Patriots run. What job does a defensive end has to do to contain this veer?
Well, Manny, I think it depends somewhat on the personnel you're facing. Against us, we think they have to stop our backs going straight ahead first if they're going to have any chance of stopping us. Now, our defensive setup against Patterson is somewhat different than we would play against ourselves. I think we're going to concede a little bit more yardage to the quarterback and make sure we're out there with 21 and 31 when they get the ball outside. And so far, it's been a tribute to them that what yardage they've gotten has been when they have been able to break it back inside our pursuit.
33, Oscar Spear. Spear heads the last tackle. The ball is now resting at the 46-yard line in Patriot territory. Third down and 7 to go. They're at the 46. Boudreaux brings his offense up, split backs once again with the wide receiver to the right side. Straight ahead to number 31, Butler. And Butler is stopped near the 40-yard line.
His nose guard, Bart Pickens.
Interesting play coming up now, Willie. Fourth down, and we'll call it 2 yards to go for a first down. And again, it's one of these big plays early in our third quarter.
And they're going for it. They don't have much choice at this time.
You're right. Corey, on a defensive standpoint, what can we expect Patterson to be coming with here?
Well, it'll be an interesting play call. They've gotten most of their success off the quick pitch, although this isn't a typical situation. They tried to cross us up with a quarterback sneak, and it's going to be close.
I don't know if he got it.
I don't think he made it.
We wait for the Piles to uncover.
No, he didn't make it.
They may call for a measurement, but it doesn't appear he made it from our vantage point. Bagley and Davis.
You know, Manny, this isn't a bad time while we're looking at this measurement to talk about something that the average fan probably doesn't realize. When you play a team with big splits like this, a lot of your defensive success depends on the ability of your nose guard to control both sides of center, which allows you to play in the gaps and neutralize those splits with your other people. Otherwise, you're really a man short on your defensive front. And Bart Pickens, a senior nose guard, enables us to make those adjustments, even though you probably haven't heard his name much on individual tackles.
Here we go. McCann, Dubrock, and LaForte in the backfield. Straight ahead to number 44, Dubrock. And this time the Lumberjack defense ready for him. John May and Lawrence Darnell in on the tackle. And a fine tackle like that for the Lumberjacks.
Patterson is really committing to the inside dive now, and it'll be interesting to see if they can still handle the outside dimensions.
And it looks
I
like
think
we'll
Greg
have
made number 54 pay a little bit for that tackle here, and seems open to question right now whether they're going to treat it as an injured player or not.
There has been a timeout call.
It's an official timeout for an injured player.
Yes, it is. They start the clock back up with 7:13 remaining in our third quarter. It's funny, there was a whole lot of excitement in our first half, and it appears to be a little lull right now. And I don't know if we're waiting for Patterson to get themselves back in the ball game or for Curtis just to blow it out. Number 14, McCann, on a keeper around the right side. Darnell and May again making a fine defensive play. Third down situation. And don't for 1 minute think that Curtis at this time is just sitting on the ball. There's no doubt they're going to try to pick up a first down here, and then you may call it sitting on the ball, chewing up the time. But by no means do they just want to run 3 downs, punt the ball, and give the explosive offense that the Lumberjacks have any type of opportunity to put themselves back in the ball game. Remember, 22 points were scored in our first half, and believe me, it can happen in our second, no matter which team does it. But they do pick up a few yards, play conservative, and will bring up a 4th down situation with appears to be 2.5, 3 yards to go for a first. And this time they go to a punting situation. Johnny Grimaldi, number 67, the nose guard, makes a fine play for the Lumberjacks. Spear back at his own 34-yard line. Good snap. Low spiral, and it's going to get past the receivers. And he takes a Curtis bounce. He's going to be inside the 5. And look at this.
That was David Krause on an excellent job on the special teams. I believe Patterson is starting to show a little frustration here. Their quarterback really rushed the quarterback sneak before, and he put his head down and came up a little short, where I think if he'd have sat back and found the crease, he might have been a little better off. And there, punt returner made a big mistake trying to field the ball back over his head inside his 10-yard line.
Tell you what, you talk about special teams playing an important role. Look where Patterson has to start off this drive at their own 1-yard line, and they've had trouble moving the ball so far tonight, and now they've got 99 yards between them and 6 points. And with the score 22-0 and 5:25 remaining in our third quarter, things don't look real good from the Patterson side of the field. This is going to be a real big penalty. If it's a delay of game, it's got to go at least half the distance, which will be a half-a-yard penalty. Oh, no. Hey, the flag was down before the snap, and it's against Curtis, so they do get a little breathing room here.
Now, that was a costly mistake on our part to give him some breathing room here.
That looked like encroachment. That came into effect a few years back, where if a lineman just crosses the imaginary line of scrimmage, even before the ball is snapped, it's still a penalty against the team that causes that offense.
Straight ahead, and the Curtis defense really sticking. You can hear the pads popping up here in our press box. Bailey, number 74, 73, Alvin Wickbull. And number 44, Greg Dubrock.
I know JT must still be a little nervous, but he's in fine shape, having an offensive team down in the own 9-yard line. There's only 4:23 left in this quarter, this third quarter.
Fakes it up the middle. We talked about the home run ball. This is another one. And again, oh, almost intercepted. Again, that was by Reggie Dupart, if I'm not mistaken, number 21.
I'll tell you, Manny, 3 fine sophomores did the job for us on that. There was Scott Bailey playing the stand-up middle linebacker just now in place of our senior nose guard, put extreme pressure on the quarterback. And 2 sophomores, our free safety, Stephen Ray Hodge and Reggie Dupard, doubling the wide receiver.
We haven't had the chance to see Dupard return a whole lot tonight, but Will, if you missed it early in our year, this man can return them. He picked off a couple interceptions in the Independence ball game and made some fine returns, and I can remember the Newman game, he did the same thing on a punt return. He's got a lot of ability, this Dupard. Speaking of ability, if he gets outside here, look at this play by Dubrock. If number 44 Dubrock didn't have the strength that young man has, it would have been a quick 6 for the Lumberjacks.
We were in a short yardage defense, and number 31 managed to break the seam. And when you do pop it clean against a short yardage defense, you do have a little running room.
Corey, I don't make any tendencies, or I'm not going to make any tendencies which Curtis has done in the past, but I did know that in the Independence ball game, they had a good lead and they sort of relaxed. Now, this is early to be talking about that because, as you see right there, look at this. They had them shut off.
Well, Manny, that wasn't relaxed. That was just flat-out good running by number 21 there. Although anytime you get a big lead that quickly, certainly we had it tonight, there is a question of intensity, but I think right now you're just seeing excellent running by 2 fine backs, and Patterson realizing they can play too, and it's turned into a real fine battle.
Willie, I think it was yesterday in the newspaper they were talking about having all the state playoffs in the Superdome. What's your feelings on that?
Well, I've been preaching that for a number of years. This was built by the state, and I think the people of the state should have use of it.
Woodrow hands off the left side to Butler.
Again, that was Greg Dubrock on the stop.
Dubrock and Bagley got the whole defensive unit in on every play now. 3rd down and 2. Corey, interesting that Coach Hoff said that. You had stated something earlier that a lot of the teams traveling from out of town don't want to have nothing to do with this place.
Well, Manny, I think they have a tendency to look at it as an advantage to a team from the New Orleans or southern area of the state, and it really takes away from their chance to have the home field advantage.
Oh,
and they're not
there's
sure.
A fumble. Curtis recovered.
Yeah, that's certainly
Number 62.
Bart Pickens, the nose guard. But I think they look upon that as forfeiting their home field advantage, and I think it might run into quite a bit of opposition in North Louisiana.
And especially the way this thing's turning out, Pickens comes up with yet another big play. Turnovers has played a very important part in this ball game right now. There's nothing like putting a nail on a coffin, at least on your own self. Pass from McCann to number 88, Dwayne McCollum, incomplete. It was over the outstretched hands of McCollum and just didn't quite get to him. He had his man beat by a step or two. Could have picked up close to a 1st down.
I think we saw a little keep them honest there. They're really committing to the inside dive, and they stopped us the first time we had the ball.
Believe me, Curtis can pass the ball, and I see what you mean. They've got them stacked up across the inside line. 4 linebackers, 5 or 6 deep, and they've got McCann.
They're playing that 4-4 and shooting those linebackers in the gap, try to stop that dive. And this half so far, they've done a pretty good job. They've adjusted in this quarter, and we only have 1:40 left in this quarter. And Curtis is having a little problem moving the ball right now.
May and Davis make the tackle. Willie, with that type defense, is the defense vulnerable to a big play?
Definitely. That 4-4, if that man breaks through, and of course with a 3 deep secondary, if you throw passes as you see at the screen, you can break something open.
He's got a 1st down. LaForte is out of bounds at the 33-yard line, but not before the Patriots have another 1st down.
That's the backside screen we were talking about right before half. I said drawing screen would probably be an important part of our long yardage situations because Patterson goes to the football so well, and that right now are committing people to stopping us quickly before we can get into our offense.
That's when we talk about versatility. The Curtis offense has it. They can run and throw. Pitch back. Oh, look
Here's
out.
the
There he
outside
goes.
dimension I was talking about. It gives you a little trouble. Now that we have some field position or some grass or artificial turf in this case between us and our goal line, I think Patterson will have a little bit more trouble staying in that type of defensive set.
Willie, I said it earlier. I think Curtis can play with a whole lot of quad A teams.
Curtis has a tremendous football team. They really do. They're big, quick, agile, and well coached.
Well, they've got an exciting offense. Oh. Hand off to number 20. Look at this.
That was Brian Strapola, a sophomore, that can really make things happen. I think if the fans were looking at the Patterson defense just now, they could visibly see it loosening up as they got burned on the pass and the outside dimension of the triple option just now, and they paid for it on the inside dive.
Stropolo brings it down to the 8. The name sounds very familiar. There's been a few Stropolas that's come out of Curtis and has been very successful in college, professional ball as well. And Brian's just a string of the Stropolo family. Fumble. Appears to be a Curtis recovery. I guess at this point in the game we have 15 seconds. You start totaling points. A field goal right now is definitely a plus. Do you go for a field goal when a 4th down situation comes up, or do you try to keep the Lumberjacks way back and make them have to grind out yardage and use up the clock?
Well, this will be a key down as far as making that decision. This is the quarter break and gives us a little additional time to decide what you want.
You know, Corey, a lot of teams have compared the 79 Patriots to the 75 and 77 state champs, IXJT, just to do that.
You know, it's difficult to compare teams. Of course, the 79 Patriots are a different group all to their own. They're a very loose group. They've got a lot of great individual talent. We have some great junior talent, some great senior talent, and they developed themselves into a fine, fine football team. Of course, the 77 team was led by Chris Strapola, who was an exciting quarterback for us, who could run the veer in the state championship game. He scored 3 times in 77. And the McCann kid basically is the same kind of kid. He doesn't have the overall speed that Strapola had, but he certainly can throw the ball and is more than an adequate runner. So the 75 football team was led offensively by quarterback Chris Shelley, who was also a left-handed kid, as the Strapola boy was. He was an exciting offensive player who could throw the ball as well as run it. The 75 team only had 10 seniors, so they kind of were an underdog group that nobody gave much of a chance to win. All they did was go out and win a state championship. They put us on the way, and really each one of them had their own unique personality, and we loved and enjoyed being with each one of them.
Intercepted by Richard Valteau, and Greg Dubrock makes a key tackle. And as a Patriot down around the 22-23 yard line.
There's also a penalty, Manny.
Usually in this situation, it's sometimes a clip. Maybe it is here. No, it's against Curtis, so I'm not guessing too well at all. Personal foul.
Seem to be a little over-enthusiastic going to the football.
So Patterson not giving up hope as far as getting themselves back in the ball game. We have 11:47 remaining in our ball game, and 11:47 between Curtis claiming themselves a state championship or Patterson. And there's no doubt tonight someone will fall from the mountain, because there's only one that will be crowned king.
But just to get here in the state playoffs finals is a tremendous accomplishment by any football team.
Very true. A whole lot of football teams come out of the state of Louisiana. Boudreaux on the keeper. Boudreaux across the 45 to the 44, but flags down once again.
Manny, I think you saw an example again of what we had talked about earlier. We are definitely more interested in having number 13, not taking anything away from him, carry the football on the option, than we are in letting those pitchbacks get it. And like I said all year, a major, probably only major downfall, Patterson offense, it requires a pretty tricky block coming back towards the football. Whenever you do that, and you have to do it regularly, you're going to find yourself clipping. There's just no way to avoid it. And again, it struck at a pretty costly time.
Well, Steve Rahaj laid a good lick on Boudreaux that time. Flattened him back across the turf, out of bounds.
Again, man, I think it would be appropriate at this time to mention is 3 of our defensive players that have been really come on since the season started that were fine offensive ball handlers in their own right. And that's Rahaj, Dupard, and Davis, who have made quite a sacrifice and really cemented our defense together.
Speaking of cement, that's the way it's been, because they've been putting the sinks right now on the Patterson offense. Number 31, Butler, tackled by Rahaj and Davis, out across the 40 to the 42-yard line. First down, or second down now, after the penalty, and 11.
And the clock keeps moving, and that's in Curtis's favor, and I'm sure JT is watching that clock at this point. 22 points on top. He's sitting in a pretty good position.
That's right, Willie. There's no doubt Patterson cannot afford to just grind out yardage and score. They've got to make a big play sooner or later if they're going to get back in the ball game.
Again, that was our defensive end play being adjusted due to Patterson's offensive personnel. Ordinarily, we would have forced 13 to pitch. Against these 2 particular backs, we play our defensive end on the pitch, which encourages the quarterback to turn up the field, and we did a good job that time coming to the football and managed to shut down the key.
Alvin Wickbolt, Scott Bailey, and Terrell Chatham on the stop for the Patriots.
What's your guess, Coach Hoff? The reverse?
It appears it should be the reverse. That's in this situation, they have done it, and they've thrown the home run ball. It looks like the home run ball this time.
Oh, look at the pressure.
Well executed play, caught the ball.
There came a lot of pressure from the defensive front line for the Patriots. Pickens, Jacobs, and Wickbolt.
That was a finely executed play.
Big first down for Patterson after that 15-yard penalty.
First and 10, ball at the 42. There's a lot of things that you can attribute to a team's successful year. Corey, you've been around the ball club the entire year, and we'll pick it up right after this play. We'll see what they come off with at first and 10. Be thinking about it. What can you Curtis Patriots attribute to their success this year? Pitch back. The pursuit is there, but number 21 breaks it. Look out! And number 21 is tripped up inside the 30 down to about the 27-yard line.
Again, man, it was just an outstanding individual effort. Not to get away from your question, but it seemed only appropriate to mention the fine job by number 21 of Patterson running the football there.
Hilliard
did an excellent job of cutting back real quick.
Getting back to your question, though, I think it all starts with the real disappointing loss we had to Kinder in the semifinals last year. I think the team has really committed themselves to getting better and reaching the goal tonight. And this would be, again, the final.
Look at this, another turnover.
Another big fumble recovery.
That might be the icing on the cake there.
Right.
Scott Bailey, number 74. I'll tell you what, that defense deserves one tremendous pat on the back. You saw all year we so much talk about the offense, but this defense has forced turnovers, have given the offense ball in an excellent field position. And what can you say? That must be about 4 or 5 turnovers just tonight.
Well, again, they forced out of their general pattern when they have to rely on their quarterback to carry the ball that much.
Look at
That
LaForte.
was just a super run by our running
He's
back,
still going.
Emile LaForte.
Oh, Willie, you've been around seniors before. Camille's a senior. That extra adrenaline's got to be going through their blood right now.
He knows there's only 9 minutes left in this ball game, and he sure wanted another touchdown. He has real quick feet and real strong legs. He was really moving there. And they had overshifted their defense that time. Now they're back with that 4-4 look again.
Dubrock. Speaking of your seniors, Corey, we have, if I'm not mistaken, you have 19 seniors. And I guess you really can't say enough about that senior leadership on the 79 ball club.
No, Manny, they have done an excellent job. And they're a really experienced group, not just in the fact they're seniors, but between them now, I guess this is 44 games in 3 years they've played, counting playoff games, because reaching the finals twice and the semifinals once, and they really have helped hold our program together.
To the big man, Willie, he runs backwards as fast as some running backs run forward.
He keeps those feet pumping, and he knows how to make those first downs, I'll tell you that.
Greg's endurance in the second half has really been a key factor in our drive throughout the second half of the season, because he enables us to control the ball.
Well, he's been going both ways. I noticed in his third quarter he was on defense most every play.
Quite a bit.
Curtis now marching down the field, and most importantly, they're chewing up the clock with plays like this. McCann still has the ball across the 30 to the 28, and Robin Francis was the last man between McCann and a touchdown. Ball marked down at the 39.
That was another excellent read by Lance, and the big running back, Dubrock, attracts a lot of attention when he hits it up in there. It was a key block by our tight end, Dwayne McCullum, who has not gotten the attention he really deserves. He's only 16 years old. He's probably 165 pounds. He's a natural wide receiver who's adjusted to playing.
Whoa, look out.
Tight end spot.
Whoa, he's collared.
That sophomore Tom Mastro Giovanni, who can really step it. He already, as a sophomore, has a 10-100 behind him. And he's really going to
speed then.
He's really going to add some points to our offense next year as he gets more and more confidence in the Veer offense.
He showed a lot of speed on that option play that time, and I just can't say enough about y'all offensive line. They just fire off that ball and move those people out of there, and when you get down here on the goal line, if you don't have offensive line, you don't score.
No, Coach, and they take tremendous pride in their ability to get downfield. And they do it with regularity that really far beyond what maybe their 40 times would tell you they could do. It's just consistent effort, and it's not unusual at all to see 2 or 3 of our backside people throwing downfield.
Well, they're all fired up right now. They're just blowing that Patterson defensive line right off the ball now.
Something just took place right now that shows a lot of class on the Curtis Patriots side. There was a Lumberjack down on the field, and he, I guess, getting up slow. His team's getting beat pretty good. And a Curtis Patriot helped him off the ground and patted him on the back. And I guess that's just fitting as Dubrock runs it in from 5 yards out. The score now, Curtis 28, Patterson 0.
Dubrock's a dedicated boy with a world of endurance, both natural and trained. He was an excellent quarter and half miler. In the 8th grade, he ran a 2:02 half mile. But 40 pounds of muscle later, he's turned himself into an excellent javelin thrower, and he's still a tremendous asset to our track team.
Holy cow. Score now 28-0. I'm looking back over the scoring tonight. 3 fumbles have been turned into touchdowns by the Patriots, and that, my friend, is a credit to your defense for getting the ball back, but a credit to the offense for scoring when the ball's turned over to you.
That was a well-executed drive. It took about 6 plays to move it down the field, and they did one
68 yards, too, Willie. It's a long drive.
28 is another situation where mathematically it does not do you any good to run or to go for the 1-point conversion.
Ooh, incomplete, intended for LaForte. So now, with the score, John Curtis 28, Patterson 0. We'll hear from one of our sponsors.
Your wife has picked the colors. You must do the rest. So go see Bunky Helm and choose the very best. Regal Wall Satin by Benjamin Moore in shades that come alive. And the price this month is really great, just $8.75. Hard-wearing exterior Moore Glow will suit your budget fine. Specially priced this month at $11.79. And when the job is finished, you'll know you've passed the test. Let Bunky Helm steer you in the right direction. Helm Paint and Supply, 8128 Earhart.
Number 33, Oscar Spear, kicking off for Curtis. And an onside goes out of bounds. And I'll tell you what,
be short of the 10 yards.
Yeah, Curtis is looking to put a real thumping on Patterson. They wanted the ball back. They want to chew up the clock themselves and leave the offense with the ball when the game ends.
I don't believe the ball covered 10 yards.
It went 7 or 8 yards. You know, you hate to sing the old song by Dandy Don, turn the lights out, the party's over, but we're getting close to that now. 6:23, 28-0. And if Dandy Don was here, I'm sure he'd be singing.
Well, Manny, between you and I, we'd have to turn the mic over to Coach Hoff, so unless he's ready.
Fumble! Look at the Curtis defense. Brian Bagley, 74. Scott Bailey and 21 Reggie Dupard gave very little breathing room to the backfield from Patterson. You know, you can look down at the sidelines from my viewpoint, and as long of a distance as it is, you can see some smiles coming from them coaches. You look back at game one, in fact, practice one. It's been a long year, and you can look back at all the sweat the people have poured on the field, and it's very gratifying when you look up at your scoreboard and you see Patriots 28, Lumberjacks 0 with the clock winding down.
I know JT has to start getting that feeling right about now. There's 5 minutes left in this ball game, and he's 28 points on top. One heck of a job for the entire year. And the whole school does a tremendous job. I live in that neighborhood in the River Ridge area, and it is a football athletic factory that they have at JT Curtis. They do one tremendous job.
Handoff to Butler. Butler across the 45 to about the 49-yard line in Lumberjack territory. Donnie Davis, number 45.
Donnie Davis is having a real fine ball game at the defensive end. We're asking him to really take away the outside play, which has been Patterson's bread and butter most of the game, and he's still doing a pretty good job shutting down the off-tackle play, and it's difficult to do both against backs like Patterson has.
You know, it's funny, both teams have 4 shutouts to their credit. I think the ball would have been trapped, almost intercepted though, but throughout the entire year, Patterson has not been shut out, and I'm looking over the scores. This is what Patterson did to the teams they played this year. Defeated Berg 44-6, thumped Port Allen 28-0, Jeanneret fell 40-6, Rosenwald 48-7, Hanson 34-14, beat White Castle 40-7, E.D. White was beaten 20-15, Assumption Catholic 56-0, Brushley 48-0, West St. John 56-0, Clinton, this is in the playoffs now, 40-20, Opelousas Catholic. As here we go, pass is going to be intercepted at the 24. Whoo, Dubrock put a shoulder. There was some people hitting the ground on that one. Flags down. Robin Francis intercepts. Back to what we're doing. Opelousas Catholic 20-7 was defeated. Bell Chase 32-22. Kinder 20-12. The lowest score was 20 points. And the Curtis Patriots have kept the Lumberjacks out of the end zone. Phenomenal.
Our offense seems to have a little difficulty tackling. Staying off the pile.
They do a tremendous job moving the football, though, and that's what they're out there for. When that offense gets out there, they are awesome. They are really well coached. And I can't say enough about this Curtis offensive line. They really move those people out of there. And Curtis's defense rises to the occasion. I don't believe in luck, and I just believe your effort, hustle, just makes your own luck. Tremendous pursuit and that little pitch back.
Really, that was a good example of what you're talking about. our defensive end, Kurt Mitchell, I'm sure in a foot race would have plenty of trouble with number 85, and he just spotted him 5 yards and caught him from behind up the sidelines.
But he was well coached because he took the right angle of pursuit. I've noticed many high schools, if they're not as well coached, they just run after the football play and they don't go where they're supposed to. But Curtis gets to the football.
Straight ahead, nowhere to go. Scott Bailey, Alvin Wickbolt, those two men have played just an outstanding ball game tonight. Both of them. Wickbolt's done an exceptional job from his tackle position.
I don't think you could pick an outstanding football play on the Curtis team. I think it was just a tremendous team effort all night tonight, both offensively and defensively.
Boy, is that the truth. You know, Corey, right now, I guess it becomes a thing of pride, trying to keep him out of the end zone.
Right, man. Our defense started off the season really young, and they were tested real early by some fine football teams. And I think right now they're getting after it, and they have certainly gotten better as the season has gone on. And it seemed like the bigger the play, the better they have been able to play themselves. And that is a tribute to them, their quality, not just as athletes, but as a person, I am really proud of them as people, because that's when it gets tough. Anybody can make the plays during easy games or 3rd and long. It's a lot harder to make them. I think now in the playoffs we have a streak of 5 consecutive 4th and shorts where we have stopped the other team.
The big trophy that you're looking at on your screen on the left is the trophy that will be awarded to the John Curtis Patriots. Here we go. Boudreaux throws it out to number 21 and fumbled. Scramble for the ball. We're waiting for him to unpile.
Looks like Patterson has the ball. They have recovered, but the play was stopped because of the read by the defensive end on that screen. He was right there with him.
Scott Bailey, number 74, and 81, Kurt Mitchell, all over the place, especially on that last play. 2:06. We'll come down to our 2 minutes in the ball game. We're under 2 minutes now. Boudreaux on the option, flags down.
Penalty down, looks like holding on the offense.
Manny, I'm going to leave you at this time to go down the sidelines. Once again, I'll thank you for the job you've done covering prep sports, not only for us, but for all the schools. I'd like to thank Coach Hoff for his kind attention during the night. And before I leave, I'm going to ask Coach Hoff to read the names of those offensive linemen who have certainly controlled the ball game for us tonight. Thank you again. Good
Corey,
luck.
thanks tons for being with us.
Thank you, Corey.
Congratulations.
As I've been saying all night long, this offensive line really moves the Patterson defense out of there. And at center, Richard Armstrong has done a tremendous job all night long. Jeff Burns at guard and Eddie Krieger, tremendous, just moving the ball players out of there, creating gigantic holes for the backs. Of course, you cannot neglect the backs that Curtis have. McHann and Dubrock really moved the ball. At tackle, there's Danny Carroll, 200 pounds, and a senior, has had a tremendous night knocking those defensive ball players over on their backs at times. And Mike Michel, the biggest man on the football field, one great football player, the other tackle. And of course, as Coach said earlier, Dwayne McCullum, the tight end, didn't get the recognition he should, and he was doing a tremendous job out there. And I don't want to neglect Chris Sanchez, one of the other tackles, who did a tremendous job out there all night long. Offensive line to a coach is the most important. You know that old saying, Manny, it's what's up front that counts. And definitely it is what's up front that counts. And for Curtis tonight, they did the job. They scored 28 points. The backs carried the ball, held on to the ball, and of course the defense was tremendous.
Willie, take a look at that sidelines right now.
Yeah, there are some happy people out there on the sideline. I know the Curtis people work hard at it. They have been in the past, and it's a tremendous asset to JT and his assistant coaches to do a job of such tremendous potential year after year. You know, you can get a football team every now and then, but when you have a winning team consistently, it is because of your organization. And JT does have a good organization. He was a football player at East Jefferson High School and went on to Arkansas State and came back and took over at Curtis High School. And since that time, Curtis has been and will be until he retires, I believe, in the state playoffs every year.
That's a mouthful there. Coming from such a great coach as yourself, Willie, that's a heck of a compliment to be given. 107, second down, 16 to go for a first, and I think right now first down is the furthest thing from John Curtis's mind. 28-0, I was watching the sidelines earlier. Some football players were holding each other in jubilation. They know that it's all over. They've been crowned the 1979 AA state champs, and it's just got to be a fantastic feeling to be on that field right now and know you've been a part of it. No matter if you've been a starter, a second-team man, or what, it's got to be a great feeling.
And I know these young boys that are playing right now, the backup men, are really enjoying being able to get into a state final game, especially in the Superdome and when they're on top.
You're right.
And I believe, as you can hear the fans roaring, I'm sure they enjoyed it as much as we did up here in the press box tonight.
Well, at this time, I'd like to thank you for coming down. And again, I know this is no politics involved, but I would like to congratulate you on your newly elected job as councilman at large. And again, thank you for being with us tonight, because I sure appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Manny, and I hope I can be successful as a politician as I was as a coach. And it all depends on the people you surround yourself with. And I know, well, it's getting a little rusty out there right now, and this sometimes happens in a high school football game, but the officials are right on top of it. This game is all but over. 6 seconds remain on the clock, and J.T. Curtis High School is the 1979 AA state champs, and well-deserved state champs.
You're right. This is it. All you can do is sit back right now and pull that smile from ear to ear, because there's not many people that can deep down say you're number one. That's it. It's all over.
And there,
Curtis can do it.
yes, they can, and they do it consistently, and you can hear those fans. And I'll tell you, they have some fans here for a AA high school. There's quite a few out here tonight enjoying the success of a great football team.
You're right, Willie. Again, the final score, Curtis 28, Patterson 0. Congratulations to the John Curtis Patriots, their entire coaching staff, their faculty, students, and of course, the football players themselves. From East Bank Cable TV, this has been Manny Baracco along with Willie Hoff and Corey Buton, hoping you enjoyed the ball game, because we sure did. From the Superdome, final score, Patriots 28, Lumberjacks 0. The John Curtis Patriots, AA state champs for 1979. When you hear sporting goods, remember ARC. ARC carries a full line of football equipment, from cleats to helmets. And if you can't score with football and tennis is your racket, we have a wide selection of tennis clothes, court shoes, racket strong and re-grip. Owners Art and Kentron Costa have an unbeatable all-purpose shoe department, from jogging tennis to track or just leisure tennis. Remember ARC for the best in sports clothing and sporting equipment. That's 3320 Williams Boulevard, directly behind KB. Open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 on Saturday. ARC, Kenner's largest sporting goods store. ARC, where you are our most valuable player. Okay, we're coming back to our field. You see the Curtis Patriots getting down on one knee. This is no doubt one of the finest hours in Patriot history. They raise Coach J.T. Curtis up on their shoulders. We're number one. We're about to have the presentation for the state champions. And that group of young men down there are very happy. A representative from the Louisiana High School Athletic Association, the Officer Frank Spruill, will present the trophy to Coach J.T. Curtis. And no doubt, when you see these guys start jumping up and down, you know it and they know it, that they have claimed the #1 ranking in AA ball in 1979.
This school is a fine representative of Jefferson Parish. When you win football championships, it brings glory to the parish, and I'm glad to see it.
There it is, Willie. There's the trophy.
There it is, people. A job well done by some fine people.
So true. Tell you what, Willie, I know a lot of those seniors would like to break that thing and take part of it home with them.
I'm sure they would. It's a tremendous feeling. I was fortunate enough to have that feeling in 1952, and you will never forget it.
You're right. Good luck, Patriots, and we hope you enjoyed our ball game.